Ever heard the old World War II expression, loose lips sink ships? It seems Donald Trump hasn't. New reporting gives us a new look into his cavalier handling of our national secrets. First reported by ABC, it seems that Trump shared information about American nuclear submarines and their capabilities with an Australian billionaire member of Mar-a-Lago, who then shared the information with scores of other people, according to sources familiar with the matter. The businessman, Anthony Pratt, reportedly discussed the submarines with Trump in April of 2021, 3 months after Trump left office. Sources told ABC, quote, in emails and conversations after meeting with Trump, Pratt described Trump's remarks to at least 45 others, including 6 journalists, 11 of his company's employees, 10 Australian officials, and 3 former Australian prime ministers. Meanwhile, sources told the New York Times that Trump's loose lips may have endangered the U.S. nuclear fleet. According to the Times, Trump revealed at least 2 pieces of critical information about the U.S. submarine's tactical capabilities, according to the people familiar with the matter. Those included how many nuclear warheads the vessels carried and how close they could get to their Russian counterparts without being detected. Both ABC and the New York Times point out that the disclosure was investigated by special counsel Jack Smith's team in connection with the investigation into Trump's hoarding of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. Joining me now is Basil Smikle, Democratic strategist and director of the public policy program at Hunter College. Dean Obeidallah, host of the Dean Obeidallah Show on SiriusXM, and Tara Setmeyer, senior advisor to the Lincoln Project and former Republican communications director. And Tara, ladies first, I'm going to start with you. You know, there was a time when, you know, the sort of basic Republican brand was pro-national security and anti-USSR. It's flipped now, and Donald Trump is now showing off our nuclear secrets to his friend who's a member of Mar-a-Lago. Your thoughts on why there's so much silence from the former National Security Party on this?
It's outrageous, Joy. The more we hear about how reckless Trump has been with our national secrets, the more infuriating it becomes that the Republican Party has allowed him to get away with this. This is the same party that grilled Hillary Clinton over, phantom emails for years and years and years. And we have proven that Donald Trump has spoken out of turn about national security secrets more than once. Remember when he had the Russians in the Oval Office, for goodness sakes, and he revealed information about Israel? It's been, and Jack Smith has an entire case against him for his reckless handling of national security secrets and documents. So thankfully, at least he was Australian, which is part of our Five Eyes intelligence apparatus of the 5 countries that we are friendly with and share intelligence. But this guy's a businessman, not an intelligence officer. And this was after he left the presidency. So Republicans are quiet about this because if they said anything, they'd be revealed as the hypocrites that they are on this issue. They've lost all credibility as the National Security Party, and it's infuriating for those who know better, who know the implications of someone as reckless and as dangerous as Donald Trump is when it comes to these things. So it really is just craven political cowardice that they don't call Trump out on this because they know that they excused his behavior during his entire presidency and afterwards.
And Basil, at some point, I guess a lot of us who sort of are freaked out about this on a regular basis are waiting for Democrats to essentially assert themselves as the National Security Party, because at this point, they are.
Yeah, I think that's right. And listen, Trump made his bones on this kind of behavior, this sort of braggadocious behavior, either outright lying or just, bragging on himself. And where I come from, there should be consequences to that. And I would love for my Democratic friends and colleagues to find ways to continue to hold him accountable. But one thing that I am concerned about, and I know, Mr. Pratt, we can talk about his wealth relative to, say, the MyPillow guy, who also seems to have a lot of access to Donald Trump. But what concerns me, and this kind of goes to your earlier segment, I wonder what these individuals around the world of means are doing with that money and that information. Are they moving any pieces on this large chessboard of ours in this world to try to take advantage of what Donald Trump has been consistently leaking to them? I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't think that I am. But I am concerned about the ways in which people with a tremendous amount of means in other countries across the globe have access to this man the loose lips that you talk about, the ability or the desire that he has to just be able to talk to people without any kind of guardrails, and what they do with that information, even if it's sort of below the radar for most of the intelligence community.
Right. I mean, Dean, that's it, right? One wonders if he took this stuff because he just wants to brag about it. But it's the question of who is he bragging to, right? And also, who's in the pockets of his son-in-law, who got $2 billion from the Saudis? That's the challenge. Both Donald Trump and his son-in-law scream national security risk, and yet this silence about it in D.C.
Well, I have to say, Joy, maybe at some level, this is Trump a new benefit of joining Mar-a-Lago. You also get national secrets. So not only tennis and golf and a pool, I'll give you national secrets of America. Here's the thing that really upsets me, and I say this maybe because I'm a lawyer. Jack Teixeira, 21-year-old airman, for just to show off to his friends, shared national secrets, charged with 2 counts of espionage, is sitting in a prison cell now awaiting trial. Donald Trump has been charged with 32 counts of espionage. 32 counts of espionage, my friends. I challenge everyone, find another case where someone is charged with 32 counts of espionage and is still out walking free and not in custody. And the reason Teixeira was put in custody, the judge said he was concerned that other countries would make overtures to him and offer him safe haven in return for the secrets. That is Donald Trump to a T. If Donald Trump thinks he's losing 2024 or does lose, he will flee to Russia, who will give him safe haven in return for our national secrets. We know that's the reality. Trump should be in a prison cell now, awaiting trial like every other American, charged with far less in terms of espionage.
My Pillow guy was invoked, but the word wealth was used in connection with him, which ain't true no more, apparently. He says he's broke. I'm going to stay with you for a moment, Dean. I know Basil's still giving him credit, but he said that in a phone interview, we've lost everything, every dime, all of it is gone. I just have to get your take on this guy throwing away his pillow empire for Donald Trump and conspiracy theories.
Well, I used to be a practicing lawyer, and I never got paid in pillows before, so I guess that's what these lawyers are getting. These like bags of pillows being sent over. It's like throw pillows, pillows to sleep on, pillows for beds. Look, this is another example of hitch your wagon to Donald Trump, and this is what you get. If you're lawyers, you get disbarred, or you have to testify against them in court. If you're his buddies like this, you lose your fortune, whatever he had, and others get charged with crime. So this is the story. Don't hitch your wagon to Donald Trump, folks, yet. Jim Jordan and the GOP are doing this very day.